Hey, what's going on, YouTube? What is going on? It's Cameron with Motion Science. I'm glad to have you here with me today. I'm glad to be here today. Looks like my little background here is a little bit screwed up. That's all right. Let's see if I can fix that just slightly. Yeah, you're gonna see a corner. Oh well. It's not always black behind me. I actually have a painted wall. I just have a big black. I don't even know what you call this piece of fabric thing that folds up. I can't remember the actual production term for it, but yeah, I actually have color in my office just for these lives. I like to show up black. I am AK Mr. Black. The name came from back when I was a freelancer. Actually, it came before that, but my freelancing name was AK Mr. Black. Back in the day, I liked to wear a lot of black, and so my friends used to call me, "Hey, Mr. Black, what's going on?" So I like black. So what's going on, everybody? Let me know who's here today. Let me know where you're at in this part of the world. And I want to answer your questions today. I'm here specifically today to talk to you guys about StyleCraft. I have a open course registration right now going on, and it closes in 2 days, 3 days. It closes Sunday night at midnight Eastern time. And a lot of people have joined so far. A lot of people have joined. Really exciting. And I've got a lot of questions. So that's what I'm here today, is to answer any questions that maybe I haven't gotten yet and I want to answer. So I will go over some common questions I've gotten a lot over the last 2 weeks since registration's been open. We'll talk about those. But maybe you've got a question that I'm not going to talk about, and I want to answer that question. So let's get started. I see a few people here I recognize. Mo, what's going on, Mo? iGlocks, hello. What's going on? iGlocks, Mo Murdoch. Tango Mango, what's going on, Tango Mango? Sup? Fire Clan from the Midwest. That's where I am from originally. For those of you who don't know me, I'm originally from Kansas City, living in Florida now. I love it. What's up from Baltimore? Awesome. Tango Mangoes from Baltimore. Got a few people in StyleCraft from Baltimore. Kermit. What's going on, Kermit? Kermit's one of my original StyleCraft members. So is Mo. Good to have you guys here today. For those of you who are watching who don't know who I am, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I've been doing motion design for over 20 years, believe it or not. 20 years. 20 plus years, actually. Got started back in After Effects when it was version 3, and it actually had just kind of become After Effects, Adobe After Effects at that point. Self-taught. Everything I've done has been self-taught through creating a lot of spec work, right? I'm a huge believer in creating spec work. Spec work makes you a better motion designer. I became a freelancer in 2007. I did that by building reels of spec work. So it actually took me 3 demo reels. Went back and kind of revisited my past and kind of figured out, what did it really take for me to go from like not knowing anything to like, I've never taken an art class. I can't draw to save my life. Never took an art class. Always kind of wanted to be a film director. And one day saw some motion graphics and was kind of blown away by it. So taught myself motion graphics, and it took me 3 demo reels of spec work to get to what I would call pro level. And not a very long time, right? And I'm self-taught. There was no YouTube. I did have one book that kind of taught me some of the skills that I learned. But everything else was trial and error. And it was a really good experience for me. But kind of fast forward, that's why I created Motion Science, to kind of give you one place to learn everything to kind of help you propel yourself into that pro level status of a motion designer. So back up, became a freelancer in 2007. That was a remote freelancer when no one else was doing remote work. I was kind of an anomaly. I was in Kansas City, middle of the country of the US, doing remote work, and I was working for studios in LA and New York and Chicago and Seattle. And I got it a lot. Like, guys were asking me like, how are you doing this from the middle of the U.S., right? We have to be in these cities to do this work, but here you are. At one point, I got called the Midwest baller, which was pretty funny. So I was making the same rate as these guys. Sometimes I was actually making more than these guys, and I was living in the Midwest with a better cost of living. So, but anyways, I went freelance in 2007 as a remote freelancer. And just to give you some of the clients I've worked with over the years, 343 Industries, Amazon, American Express, Amstel, CMT Network, CNN, Dell, Discovery, Disney, GE, Garmin, Heineken, Kraft, Microsoft, MGM, MTV, NBC, PGA, RCA Records, Sony, Sprint, Sci-Fi, Channel, T-Mobile, Toyota, Verizon, Xbox, WWE Network. That's a lot, but that's actually just a few. I have a pretty large list of clients I've worked with. Like I said, I got a reputation for doing really good motion design quickly, and I was really easy to work with. People really enjoyed working with me. So something important to have. And like I said, I'm self-taught. So no art school, no sense of drawing. I still can't draw, but I can create motion design. So that's a little bit about me. See a few more people here. Jeho, hello from Colorado. Good to have you here. Leonardo from Venezuela. What's going on, man? Good to have you here. Vesta's here from Northern Virginia. Vesta's a StyleCraft 1.5 member. Good to have you here, Vesta. Michael's also an original StyleCraft member. Good to have you here, Michael. Tofan from India. David Cruz. How's it going, David? Yeah. So we got a few more people here. I see a lot of thumbs up. Thanks for those thumbs up. Appreciate that, you guys. So that's a little bit more about me. What can I tell you else? What else can I tell you? Let me tell you a little bit about StyleCraft. And at any time, if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat box and I'll do my best to answer it. If you're just joining us and you have no idea what StyleCraft is, StyleCraft 2.0 it's over 70 lessons. It's 12 weeks of video training in the art of cinematic motion design. And people ask me, what is cinematic motion design? That, my friends, to me it's very moody. It's powerful. It's slow moving. It's beautiful, right? A beautiful is a word I use a lot when I describe the motion design that I teach. Some people ask, well, what's the difference between what motion science teaches and what other online school teaches? Well, what we teach or what I teach is very beautiful and very cinematic. So you can get a sense of what that truly means by looking at any of the work on our channels like YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. Those are some good places to get some ideas of the kind of work that I show you how to create. I also like to take a very easy approach to designing motion design. So I don't believe in overcomplicating things. I don't believe that you have to have every plugin in the book. I believe that it's easier than one might think. I know it's easier than you might think to create beautiful motion design. I've taught a lot of students who have gone through my programs, who have gone through StyleCraft, and I've seen them, when you put in the time and the effort on your end after what you learn, I've seen them progress and become better at what they do. So getting back to what is StyleCraft, it's 12 weeks of video lesson training. It's basically 2 modules per week is what I release to you. So it's Mondays and Thursdays. You get new modules of content dripped out to you, and you learn a lot. We study motion designers. We study motion projects. I give you several projects that I create for you and show you what is my process, how would I approach this, and then what you do with that's up to you. You get lifetime access to the course, plus you get live group coaching calls with me to help conquer your biggest struggles. So this is something that I'm really excited about. I've been asked a lot to start giving more one-on-one, or not one-on-one, more coaching in a video environment. A lot of the coaching I've done in the past has been through what you guys are doing right now, where I'm on camera and there's a chat box and I'm answering your questions, and it works really well. But with StyleCraft 2, I'm actually going to implement a Zoom approach at this point. So it's going to be me and you guys, and we're all on this video together, and I coach you through whatever you're struggling with every week for 12 weeks. So you get 12 weeks of access to live coaching, group coaching with me and everyone else in the course who wants to be on that coaching call. Some people enjoy coaching and some people don't. So it's totally up to you if you want to be a part of that. And you also get access to our brand new, I'm super excited, private online community. This community is other like-minded motion designers, visual creators, editors. You guys are all there together to help you break through your struggles, if you're plateaued, to kind of get over that hump, to really grow your skills. So you don't have to do this course alone. That's what's awesome about the community. Very interactive. There's already 50 people in there just talking, and it's fun to see what everyone's talking about and how everyone's interacting. So there's the private online community. And what else can I tell you about I had one more thought I wanted to tell you about the community. It slipped my mind. I'll come back to it, I'm sure. So 12 weeks of video lessons, very supportive community, 12 weeks of live group coaching with me. And in StyleCraft, essentially you learn how to design style frames, you learn how to design compositions, and you learn how to animate in a very cinematic way. And on top of all that, you learn how to finish, or what I call polish, right? That is how to just put the icing on the cake and to really make your piece shine. So I have this belief that you want to get 80 to 90% there with your motion design. You want to have a solid base of design and animation. And then at the end, you come in and you put that finish on it, and it just takes it to that next level, right? So during my days of freelancing, I was very well known for doing that as well. So I was known for simplifying and polishing and finishing a piece. So I teach you both of those, and they're both very, very important because I've told this story before, but I see a lot of motion designers that get wrapped up in, oh my gosh, my project has over 100 layers to it. Or if it doesn't have 50 layers to it, it's not a good piece. Well, I mean, that's so untrue. It doesn't require, you don't have to have a set amount of layers in a composition to make it look badass, right? It just doesn't have to have that. So you want to keep it simple, but you want to know what does it take to build beautiful motion design, right? Why does this artist's work look so good and mine doesn't, right? I show you how to really understand what makes a piece look really great and what doesn't. And I see a lot of StyleCraft students go through the course and come back and tell me like, hey man, like I'm constantly studying like titles for films, and I'm seeing them, the titles, and I'm like, I know how they did that, right? Because I've learned what it takes to do that. And it's not so much about the technical side of the how, right? I teach you the how. Trust me, you see a lot of the how, but you learn a lot about the why and the what, right? Like what is needed to create awesome motion design, and why is it needed, right? And what do you not need to do, and why not? And then, so we study these examples and we understand it. And then once you know that and you get into the how process, it's a lot easier for you to create it. So I hear a lot of StyleCraft students telling me that like they study, title designs all the time. It's hard for them to watch a TV show or a movie now without kind of really studying that piece. Not that we only focus on titles. I do show a lot of title designs in the course when we break down lessons, because to me, title design is very cinematic, right? Like I was talking about, I like to teach cinematic. And, I haven't done a ton of titles professionally, but I've done a few of them for some movies, but I've studied them a lot, and I can create titles all day long. And because they look so beautiful, right? They're so beautiful to look at, and they're so interesting. They tell a story. So we study a lot of title designs. So that's what I got for you on that. I see we've got a few more questions, or a few more people in here. We got ZAYD from Morocco. Hey, awesome. I love Morocco. I've been to Morocco one time, and man, it was a cool experience. Very cool. Glad to have you here. Manawar says, can you tell me something about logo animation? What do you want to know about logo animation? What do you want to know? No worries, Vesta. No worries. Mo, great question, Mo. Did it take you a while to find your visual sense of style? Not really. I mean, to really perfect that style, yes. I know what I'm drawn to and what I'm not, right? So like I've always been drawn to the darker, more moody sense of motion design, style of motion design. So that doesn't mean that I don't like I'll see some pieces randomly that are very like colorful and vector based, which I typically stay away from. But I will recognize sometimes I'll see pieces like that and be like, okay, that's cool. And maybe attempt to create that same style. But, I've always been drawn to darker, even since I was a younger kid, like high school, I really kind of came into what my style was. Just not in motion graphics, but just like darker style. So I knew that I liked moodier, darker pieces. And I've created a lot of that kind of content since I started in motion graphics. But it got easier over time the more I did, the more I created, the more workflows I'd go through. It became easier to kind of perfect my style. And I still people look at my work and they go, well, that guy's got a definite style. But I do pride myself as well on having, being a generalist, right? So when I was a freelancer, I was hired a lot of times to do a lot of different types of projects. And, they typically would come to me for, like I said, like finishing and design for style frames and things like that, because they knew I had that style that could match what that client was looking for. So if a client's looking for, something that's, like I said, very colorful and vector based, they're not going to, a studio wasn't going to hire me to design frames for that, because they know I tend to like darker stuff. I mean, like, hello, I'm black, I'm black t-shirt, black background, black microphone. I love black, right? My favorite color is black. But to perfect my style, it took a long time. Yeah. I mean, Mo, like I've seen your work in the original StyleCraft 1.5, and you've got your style. I can see your style. You just need to perfect your style. So, being a generalist though has helped me as a freelancer, being able to do a few more things, like going back again to the vector stuff. There's been a few jobs I've worked on where I've done character animation with vector shapes. I did not enjoy it. But I did it because the client was in a pinch and they had hired me before, and they knew the studio knew I could get the job done. But yeah, I prefer to have the darker stuff. Which is the best software for motion graphics? After Effects, hands down, right? I think everyone should start in After Effects. Once you really get After Effects down, at that point, you can move into like a 3D software package, because they work. Like for me, it's Cinema 4D, right? I don't use Blender. I don't use other 2D compositing programs like Fusion or Nuke. It's After Effects. After Effects is a very deep program, and you can do so much with it. Very, very powerful. I have seen some artists who start with a 3D package like Cinema 4D or Maya or Blender, and then move into After Effects. But honestly, I think you should start in After Effects. But it's not just about the software, right? The software is a tool. You have to understand how to use that tool. And even if you're super techie at that tool, it still helps tremendously to understand, like, what is it you're trying to do? Like if you're trying to create title design or titles for TV or film, you still need to understand the design side of things, right? Because I've seen people who think they understand After Effects and open it up and they build something and it looks like crap, right? And I'm not tearing down anybody, But if you don't know what you're doing and what makes something look beautiful, if you can master the software, it's not going to do you any good. Hey, Dale, what's going on, man? David says, sometimes we forget that design is the main thing. Why? Because you are going to animate those designs. Study first design and then focus your brain into elevate your work. Animating, polishing. Exactly, man. Great point, David Cruz. That is exactly it. So in StyleCraft, I try to balance it. I do focus more on the design side because it is. What is the term motion designer, right? It used to be motion graphics, and I still use motion graphics interchangeably. Motion graphics to me is like the work that we produce, right? Who we are is our title for many of us is a motion designer, right? Because we're designing that motion. But we also, there's the word motion, which has to do with animation, and there's the word designer. And that is because you have to understand the design side. People who do really well in motion design are graphic designers who already understand design and what makes it really great. And they can jump in and they just have to learn the motion side, which to me, the motion side is way easier to learn, right? There's all these courses out there. There's all these YouTube videos out there. There's books, and everything is all about the motion side. There's very few courses or videos about the design side. So that's what sets motion science apart from everybody else. Hey, Devix, good to have you here, man. Claudia from Italy. Hey, Claudia. My question is, are there any lessons in the StyleCraft course dedicated to the creation of clean plates using the tools like Silhouette Paint by Boris Effects? No, there is not. We don't get into very specific plugin uses or other third-party plugins, I guess I would say. We focus on After Effects and Cinema 4D Lite, which comes packaged with After Effects if you have a CC subscription, which most everybody I know has the CC subscription. Again, when you get into more visual effects-based work, that's kind of something that's a little bit different. Now, I love particle systems. I love Boris Effects, right? My favorite plugin suite in the entire world is Sapphire by Boris Effects. I promote the crap out of it. In fact, when you join StyleCraft, you get 50% off the retail version of Boris Effects Sapphire. I've used it since, I think, 2007, maybe before that. Every pro motion designer I know uses that set of plugins, and they use them in feature films all the time. I mean, that's the set of plugins to use. But in StyleCraft, we don't get into specifics about using particle systems or things like that. We do use some third-party plugins, and that's a question I get a lot, right? So let me address that right now. I get asked, do I need third-party plugins to join the course? The answer is no. Some lessons show the use of third-party plugins, but they are not required by any means. You are welcome to use the built-in plugins in After Effects or any other third-party vendor that you want to use, or a demo of that plugin. For example, I love Glow, right? And going back to your question, Mo, about my style, I didn't discover that I loved Glow so much until, maybe 2010-ish. I found that I just love Glow, right? I love Sapphire's Glow. So I use Glow a lot in my work. And in the lessons, I may be using Sapphire Glow. I may be using Deep Glow, which is an awesome Glow plugin, or I may be using the built-in Glow in After Effects. Again, just because I'm using Deep Glow in a lesson doesn't mean you have to use Deep Glow. You can use any other Glow plugin. There's a ton of them out there. There's one by Red Giant as well that looks pretty great as well. So Jeffrey, how come you call it up level versus level up? I don't know. It's different, right? I think I've been hearing a lot of other people using level up, and I just like to say up level. I guess maybe sometimes they say level up. Maybe. I guess I've never really paid much attention to that. It's a good point, though, Jeffrey. One beautiful day I will buy the course on StyleCraft. I know that isn't expensive. No, it's not. So it used to be StyleCraft 1.5 was quite a bit more expensive. I've dropped the price of StyleCraft 2.0 significantly for this launch. Next time the registration opens up, it's going up. So if you are considering joining StyleCraft right now, this is going to be your only chance to get it this cheap. David, storytelling may be the next step to elevate your work. There are amazing designs that can't tell a story, but maybe could be the key to success, isn't it, Cameron? Yeah, that's a great point too. I mean, the storytelling is a part of cinematic motion design, right? Maybe one of these days I should break down like what is cinematic motion design, because storytelling is in there. You have to tell a story, and there's multiple ways to tell a story, right? It's not just, let me tell you what storytelling can be. The camera, the 3D camera in After Effects. We work a lot with the 3D camera in After Effects in StyleCraft, and that's a storytelling tool right there. And it's like, look at movies, like how that camera moves, that's telling you a story, right? It's helping to tell the story. The design, obviously, the color palette is a huge part of telling a story. You know, if you have a piece that's black and red, that tells you, okay, maybe it's something sinister, it's something very serious, versus something that's blue and pink, right? It's happy. Maybe it's, I don't know. That's just a different way so cameras, color palettes, typography helps to tell a story. The actual elements of design that are in that image, the composition helps to tell a story. The animation of the elements tells a story. There's a lot of pieces to it. Let's see here. Okay, Cash App. Hi, Cameron. Will the work be critiqued in live chats, or is that not part of StyleCraft? So I don't do, originally in StyleCraft 1.0 to 0.5, I did like individual critiques, and I've removed that. So now, because we're doing live video group calls, I'm there for an hour every week to help you with whatever you're struggling with, right? So I don't give you a specific assignment at the end of a lesson now. So like if you watch my lessons, I don't say, okay, go out there and do this. I give you an action step or an action steps that I want you to take you to that next level. And what you decide to do with those action steps is completely up to you, right? You can do nothing with it, which I don't recommend. You can do exactly what I tell you to do, or you can go beyond what I tell you to do, and you can create, your own motion piece. And at that point, you're posting it in the community. We have different sections of the community built for you to post your work, to show it off. And the community is there. I'm telling you, there are some amazing motion designers in the community already. There are some veteran motion designers that are in that community there to help you. I'm in the community. And, if we see something, of course, we're going to be like, hey, you could do this instead to make your work better. But if you need like laser focused critiques on something, that's what the live coaching calls are for. And you show up, you share your screen, and you say, hey, look at this piece right here. This is what I'm struggling with. What can I do to improve it? And you'll get help. We're there. I'm there. Other designers are there to help you push through whatever it is you're struggling with. Dale, StyleCraft will teach you how to make your work have the extra level you're missing. Between Cameron and the talented graduates, your work will be pushed to the next level. Thank you, Dale. Dale was part of the original StyleCraft that I launched 3 years ago. Tango Mango, if I miss 1 week, will I need to catch up, or can I circle back to it at the end? You know what? You can move at your own pace. So that's another question I get a lot, right? And I'll go to that. So my schedules, I get a lot as my schedule is really busy. Can I take the course on my own time? Answer is simple, yes, right? You can take the course on your own time. It's up to you how you want to move through it. If you want to move through it with the group, that is totally cool. If you don't have time to do that, totally cool. You have lifetime access to the course material, so that allows for that. The only thing that you were limited on is the 12 weeks of live coaching. So once the course starts, you have 12 weeks of live coaching. That's there if you want to use it. If you don't want to use it, it's totally up to you. If you decide you want to extend your live coaching, there will be an option for that at the end of your 12 weeks. So take it at your own pace, take it with the group, completely up to you. That's why I give you lifetime access. You also have lifetime access to the community. Okay, maybe this is covered in the course, but how do you go about pricing your first time as a freelancer for motion work? I feel like every time I ask this, the answer is always super vague. Moonlight White, I like that name. Well, it's challenging, to answer that. That is not, I mean, we can talk about that in the community all day long. In fact, I just had a freelance question this morning in the community about how to transition into doing more cinematic work and what does that require as a freelancer. I have a course out there called the Freelance Effect that I would highly recommend if you're considering going freelance. It tells you step by step how to become a successful freelancer, and it's very laid out in a very simplified manner so as to not overwhelm you. It's just like you follow exactly what I tell you and you will get success. As far as talking about rates, I talk about that in the course. But it really just depends. Rates fluctuate. They go up and down. They always have. But your first time, I mean, like there's a general rate, $350 to maybe $450 for somebody who's brand new into freelancing, who's very junior level. That's kind of typical, right? Now that does not mean that that's what you have to charge. That's for the day. When I jumped into freelancing, I think for the first few months, maybe I was charging, I think $450 a day immediately. That's what I started with, was $450. I immediately bumped up within that first year. I bumped up to $800 a day, and I was getting that all day long. So it depends on what your skill set is and how easy you are to work with. Can you take a project and run with it? And the company, the post studio, can trust you with it, and they know that, like, hey, I can hand this project to Cameron and he's going to make it awesome. I don't have to worry about it. It's worth paying this rate for that. But typically, $350 to $450, I'd say would be a rate to start at. I always feel like that's kind of low saying that, but I know that's kind of the going rate for motion designers. So, it just kind of depends. Depends on the client as well and what that budget is. Something else you can always approach is project-based rates, which I really enjoyed project-based rates. That was more of like, okay, we need to hire you for a week. Here's the job. Here's the overall budget for you. And you, like I said, you have a week to do it. So then I could jump in. If I could get the job done in 4 days versus 5, awesome. I had a higher rate. It just kind of depended on what that job was. Tango Mango, I really liked how you showed a lot of workflow advice in your how to design a style frame video. Is that something that continues throughout the entire course, or does it drop off as we move along? I mean, it's a lot of the same advice. You see a ton of my workflows. I mean, like Dale said previously, like I said, Dale was one of the first people to go through StyleCraft. It teaches you how to get that extra level out of your work that you're missing. So you learn a ton of that, seeing my workflows, seeing how I move through a project. So no, that does not go away. What you saw in the how to design a style frame video is just a taste of what I teach you. Let's see, Tango Mango again. If I come from a design background, getting into animation, is this course still applicable? I know it's design heavy. Yeah, of course. I've had a lot of graphic designers that have gone through StyleCraft. Print designers. I've got one right now, Dan, who's really kicking butt. And I believe he came from a graphic design background. I can think of another guy. So I've had a few from the UK. I've got a few from the US. And I've never heard a bad thing about their experience. I mean, I've seen their work. And it's awesome because you can see people with a graphic design background typically move through the material a little bit quicker and learn faster and up level faster at the same time. So yeah, I think you do really well. Jeffrey, Cameron just finished AE1 and 2. Oh, starting 2. Gone through LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare, and YouTube, but never found anything that challenged me creatively. Excited for StyleCraft to flex my creative muscle. Yeah. Awesome, Jeffrey. So anyone who, I'm going to toot my own horn here. Anyone who's taken one of my courses can attest to that the quality of what I teach in my courses is it's high. It's very high, right? And I take a lot of pride in that because I spend a lot of time building these courses out, StyleCraft included, to not just give you like, here's a basic example. Like I've seen in other courses, like now I want you to, here, we're going to build this today and show you how to do that. No, I mean, like I show you, a lot of times I call them real world projects. And what I mean by that term is what you build in my courses are projects that you would see in the real world. Like a client would actually ask you to build, right? For like a commercial or a web advertisement or a film, something like that. I take a lot of pride. I spend a lot of time and energy building these lessons to be the best that I'm capable of delivering right now. And I can't tell you how much time I spend on this stuff. Sometimes I have to tell myself just to back away because it's too much, right? Too much value inside of a course. And I don't want to over deliver and overwhelm. So I appreciate the comment, Jeffrey. I'm excited to see what you create in StyleCraft. David says, I would love to be enrolled, but unfortunately I can't right now. When do you think you can make a new edition? So I'm hoping that I'll reopen enrollment in July sometime. No guarantees. That's what I'm shooting for. We will see. Right now I'm focused on this first group getting through and seeing how everything goes. So once StyleCraft starts, I focus in on the group, and that's where my attention is. So I've had a lot of people ask me that. That's another one of my popular questions is, can I join at a later date? Yes and no. The enrollment for this period ends on Sunday night, April 18th at midnight. After that, you will not be able to join until I open up registration again, which may be July. It may be later. I don't know, but there will be a higher price. Yeah, Dale, StyleCraft 1 Glow. You know it. Dan, are the lessons different from StyleCraft 1? I'm a member of 1. Is there an upgrade price to go from 1 to 2? Yes. People ask me this question a lot. I'm getting a lot of the same questions. It's great, though. You guys are covering a lot of what I wanted to cover in this call. So I would say, I need to get in there and look, but I would say 80% of StyleCraft 2 is all brand new. And maybe 20% is not. It's pulled from StyleCraft 1, but maybe it's less than 20%. That's why I keep saying I should probably take the time to do. I just haven't taken the time to do the numbers. There's a few lessons pulled from StyleCraft 1, but what I did is I actually reworked them again to make them even better. A perfect example is Angel, right? A lot of you guys have seen the Angel exercise. It's part of like my opt-in to kind of get a taste of what StyleCraft is. That's the original Angel exercise. So in StyleCraft 2, it's the same statue of the angel, but I kind of revamped it and I made it better in my mind for what it is. So that's a great example of using a lesson from 1, revamping it, putting it in 2. But the majority of the lessons, including the big project at the end, Kermit, this is for you. You asked this, the project at the very end of StyleCraft where it's called Bringing It All Together. It's a brand new project that I'm still building out. I'm really excited about it. So yes, huge difference between 1 and 2. Dan, there is a price. It's $697 to go from 1 to 2. So you can find it on the StyleCraft page. Tango Mango, can you elaborate on the action steps versus assignments a little bit more? Yeah, so a great question. I found that, so I'm in myself, I go through trainings of my own. And so I'm in a mentorship group. It's a mastermind, we call it, where I'm in there with other online educators. There's 13 of us. It's very high level, very expensive to get into it. But I'm in there to learn about what works in online courses and communities, what doesn't work, so that I can make everything I create better. And one of the big takeaways I've had from this group has been that you implement action steps. And action steps they're not assignments. They're more of, like I was saying earlier, like, okay, you've learned, let's talk about texture. Like you've learned about texture and we've studied texture in motion design. We've studied what works, why it looks so great. And then I've shown you 3 or 4 different workflows of texture in After Effects or Cinema 4D, and explain how you can use it in motion design really well. And then the next step is an action step. And that may be like, okay, I want you to go out there and I want you to build a moving texture of your own. And I believe that is actually one of the action steps from texture. It's to go out there and create your own moving texture. But it's not to, okay, I want you to create a texture and then I want you to apply it to this logo and do this with it, right? Now, if you want to do that, you can. But you see me do that in the lessons, right? You see me create moving textures. You see me apply them to logos, to other aspects of the piece, and you see what I can do. So if I give you an action step Tango Mango of create a moving texture, it's very open-ended to how you can approach that. You can go out there and you can shoot your own texture on your iPhone or your camera or a big camera, and you can pull the images off Google. You see all these different ways to make it, and you can build your own moving texture. What you do with that is up to you. And I want you to post what you do in the community, but it's more open-ended. And I feel like there's going to be a lot more creative expression come out of this, because some of the best work I've seen come out of StyleCraft students in the past has been when they have broken away from that original assignment, right? They just kind of went when they're like, screw this, I'm going to create my own essentially assignment. And they come back and they post in the community and it's like, wow, okay, this is cool. Right? It's just, it's open. It's using your own style, your own creative thinking, and creating your own assignment, essentially. So Mo, there you go. There was an example for you right there. Hopefully you guys understood that. It took me a while to wrap my head around what an action step is versus an assignment. But I'm really excited about this, right? This is something new we're trying. And I have I think it has a lot of potential. Tango Mango, do the lessons build on one another? Do the lessons build on one another is, I guess that what I'm asking in terms of, if I miss a week question, do I need 3 in order to do 4? Yeah. They do. I mean, I highly recommend that you follow the order of the lessons and you do watch them. I talk about that when you join StyleCraft. There is a little intro section, and I talk about that. They're laid out for you in a very specific order because they build upon one another. And when I was actually planning this course out last year, I went through revision after revision of reordering how I was teaching everything, because I wanted to lay it out in the best way possible, right? So the layout is even different than StyleCraft 1, guys that are in StyleCraft 1. The order is different because it's building upon lesson after lesson. Again, I've taken what I've learned over the last 3 years from StyleCraft 1. I took the best of that, what worked and what didn't. I took the best of it and I created a new course, StyleCraft 2. And I think that, the people that came out of StyleCraft 1 did amazing things. I think the people that are going to come out of StyleCraft 2 are going to do even more amazing things. Vesta, thinking of 2.0 after cleaning 1.5. The Monday and Thursday release days will be another level of commitment. I don't like to feel too far behind, even though there is no deadline per se. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it, Vesta. I've been asked a lot too, if I've gone through StyleCraft 1, is it worth going through 2? Yes. The more that you study these things that I teach, these principles, the better you get. So even to this day, for my own personal work, when I build these lessons and I study examples of like form or lines or textures, it improves my work because I'm studying other artists and I'm really dissecting what's working and what's not. And it's making my work even better. It's challenging me even more. It's putting that information back in my head that maybe I forgot, right? Because there are times that we forget certain concepts that need to be there. Catch up. I have a stronger vector-based motion style, but want to flesh out my cinematic style. I'm guessing in this case, StyleCraft is for me, right? You are exactly right. Exactly. Hopefully I'll see you in StyleCraft. Little creeps. How one-on-one is the training? I have another one of your courses, and occasionally you would skip over what you were doing on screen and do to screen, whereas I wasn't able to reverse engineer. How one-on-one is the training? Which course are you talking about? I know that like with Beyond the Parallax Effect, there was a couple moments that got skipped over that became kind of an issue, which is why I got rid of the course. I've never heard that feedback from anybody in StyleCraft that I've skipped over something. Something else, little creeps, to keep in mind on StyleCraft 2 is we actually did, we edited in, we zoom in on different parts that are important. So the whole video is not zoom in, zoom out. That's like overwhelming. But there's a lot of moments where we push in on the screen to focus in on something, pull back, wide view again, to make it more, I guess, readable for people's screens because the resolution is getting larger. So, something I do preach, and maybe this has to do with your question, is I do not believe, I don't want you to take what I teach you and recreate it step by step. I don't want you to do that. I want you to think creatively. I want you to think as a motion designer. So if I'm pushing this button and I'm putting in a value of negative 2.11, I don't want you to go into there and do a negative value of negative 2.11. I want you to think creatively for yourself, understand the process I'm going through, the workflow I'm going through, but then do your own thing with it. Okay, so you were saying the main titles was the course. Yeah, so I got rid of that one too. I got rid of Beyond the Parallax Effect and main titles because those were two courses I built at the very beginning of motion science, and I had some issues with them, right? Like you're saying, like I skipped over a couple steps that I didn't think people would necessarily need to know. I edited out and moved on, and it became an issue. So I got rid of the courses. So you will not find those courses on motion science anymore. Let's see here. What else Moonlight White. Are there any plugins that you find absolutely invaluable? I just learned about Sapphire today, and I knew about Red Giant. Some plugins are just really expensive, and I want to invest efficiently. Yeah, great question. If I had to pick two sets of plugins, it is Sapphire and Red Giant Universe. Those are the two sets of plugins, the suites that I think every motion designer should own. If you were to just invest, just in two sets of plugins. If you were to invest in just one set of plugins, it's Boris FX Sapphire. I feel like I should get paid for talking about these guys because I talk about them so much, but I don't. Red Giant Universe, Boris FX Sapphire, those two, you can do so much with, finishing and polishing and effects heavy stuff and whatever you need to do for your motion design piece. Those are the two that will handle all of it. I mean, they're both very deep. Sapphire goes even deeper. The presets with Red Giant Universe, I don't love the presets. I think they're too over the top. They're too much of a preset. So I kind of stay away from those presets. Boris FX Sapphire has amazing presets. You can literally click a preset and then go in and like maybe change one or two dials and then you're set. Boris or Red Giant, I feel like you can hit a preset and you got to go in and dial it way down and change a lot of parameters. So I pretty much stay away from those presets. There's other plugins out there too that I like. They're more specialized, like Trapcode Particular. I still think Trapcode Particular is the best particle system plugin out there. I like Red Giant's Magic Bullet for certain projects. Not all the time, but for certain ones. There's some plugins by Effects Factory that I really like. A lot of people don't know about Effects Factory. In fact, Effects Factory is one of those deals you get inside StyleCraft. You get 20% off their FX Factory Pro, which is like their signature product. So that's a cool one. Also, Mr. Horse, right? Mr. Horse makes Animation Composer. And every time I talk about animation composer, people come like, what do you mean animation? Like, why would you use that? Man, this plugin saves you so much time with your text animations. It's not even funny, right? When it first came out years ago, I kind of wrote it off. And I can't remember the reason I actually used it one time. But it's so good. It's so powerful. It's so fast that you buy the preset packs from Mr. Horse and you plug them in and you've got so many options for text effects. It's crazy. Plus he's added all these other like textures and like design elements. He's added a lot to Animation Composer. Animation Composer is free to download and it comes with a preset list of presets. And if you want to add to that, you can buy these packs and they load in. Another bonus of StyleCraft is you get 35% off the packs from Mr. Horse. So that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I love Animation Composer. Other than that, like I said, there's some more specialized plugins out there. If you join StyleCraft, I'll talk more about them. We can talk about them in the live coaching. Follow-up question: how in depth do you get on what each filter parameter does versus type the number in here, then this number here? I mean, I don't get heavy into plugins because I don't believe you need a lot of plugins, right? That's what I preach in StyleCraft. Like, it makes me laugh when I see designers who buy all these plugins and they think that the plugins are going to make their work look badass, and it doesn't. The plugins, you throw it on top, and it can ruin a piece, actually. You have to understand, you have to get your motion design 80 to 90% there without plugins, unless you're using plugins for a very specific purpose like particle systems. But then you get 89% there, and then you apply the plugins to make them look even better, the icing on the cake. So I do not get depth into filters of parameters. I feel like motion designers who are caught up in plugins are, you've got your head somewhere else and you need to kind of rethink where you're going with it. Catch up. How much time do the lessons take up per week? Great question. It depends on what those lessons are for that week. Some lessons are more heavy than others. I would say on average, if you were to spend 3 to 4 hours a week watching the lessons, you'd be in a really good place. So I am really into keeping the lessons as condensed as possible. Going back to that main titles course we were just talking about, that's another reason I got rid of it. It was like 9 hours. It was so long. And it's like, no one's going to, people sat through it, but it was just so long. So I really focus on my new courses like StyleCraft to condense them down, to edit them down. You get the information you need as quick as possible. So you can get in, you can watch the lessons, you can get out and create your own. Don. Hey, Don, what's going on? Wasn't sure I would need StyleCraft 2 since I just finished 1, but it sounds like you were adding on for the most part. I'm looking for more ways of approaching designs. Don, join StyleCraft 2. I'd love to see you in it. Don is an original member of 1. Don's done some amazing work. Has a really good history, too, of just some amazing work he's done. Yeah, there's tons and tons and tons of new lessons. Get in there. I want to see what you do, Don. Fire Clan. Hey, Fire Clan. If you came across this course 10 years ago when you were a younger motion designer, what would you have thought about it? Great question. I would have jumped on it. It took me, from when I first started playing with After Effects in like 1999 or 2000 to becoming a freelancer in 2007. That was 7-8 years of like hardcore. I worked all the time, studied as much as I could about motion graphics, practiced as much as I could about motion graphics. And, that's a lot of time. I'm talking working day jobs at production studios from the low level that I started at of making, I started making car commercials, pawn shop commercials, divorce attorney commercials, and just doing like a simple motion graphic at the end, like call this number, like really bad stuff. And if that's where you're at, that's okay. That's where you're at in your journey. But to get from there to pro level, it it was so much time. All right, sorry guys, my dog is going crazy here. Hang on just a second. All right, sorry about that. Dog was going a little crazy there. Okay, so I totally lost my train. Oh yeah, so all that time and energy of learning the the ins and outs of motion graphics. If I had a program like this that could teach me in 12 weeks, like how to get from here, point A to point B quickly, I would jump all over it. I built StyleCraft to save you time and energy. And that's what it's here for. And I feel like it's very affordable for what you're getting. Let's see here. Yeah, great point, Dale. Red Giant Complete includes Cinema 4D now, too. Yep. That's a great deal. Excuse me. I do have Red Giant Complete, I think. Actually, I think I just got rid of it because I never used the tools, the VFX comp, I think it's called, or something. I didn't ever use that, and that was a big part of it. I love their flares and stuff, though. It's really nice. Kermit, great point here. There's a quote on StyleCraft page that says it's basically his graduate program. I'm looking at this the same way. Yes. David, can we have 1 hour with you to review our projects outside of StyleCraft? I mean, as if it were an hour of call in which you advise us at the price that you consider. Yeah, I mean, I do that periodically, David. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm not doing it right now. My schedule is just way too busy. That's something I've talked about later this summer or early fall. I am going to probably bring out a mastermind group that'll be very small, probably like 12 people. Similar to what I'm in now for my business coaching. I'm going to do something like that for motion designers. It's not going to be cheap. I'll tell you that right now. But that's probably when I'll get back into that. At this time, I'm not doing one-on-one. If you want, that live coaching with me, the best route is to be in StyleCraft 2.0 and to come to the weekly group calls. The reason is sometimes on these group calls, there can only be like a couple people. You never know who's going to show up that week. So sometimes there's a lot of people on there. Sometimes there's a couple people, and you can literally get that personal attention you need for that entire hour if you need to. So I'm there for an hour every week. There you go. Great comment from Vesta, who's in StyleCraft 1. I didn't take Animation Composer seriously at first either, but now I respect it so much. Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is Mr. Horse, his ads for the plugin are so like hokey and cheesy. And he's always been like that. It's just his personality, but it's an amazing plugin. Dale just used Animation Composer the other day for an HBO project. Yep. Awesome. David says Animation Composer is great. Yeah. Let's see here. What I'm looking for is how to create things procedurally. Yeah, I mean, I find that very fascinating. Doing procedural animation design, like using fractal noise is a great way to approach that. Fractal noise, man, that plugin inside of After Effects, the worlds are like endless of what you can create with fractal noise. It's so crazy. I don't focus on procedural animation so much. Now there are, off the top of my head, there's a couple lessons. One lesson in particular that we do kind of some procedural stuff. But not a ton of it. Where do you go for stock footage and sound effects? So in the community, I actually talk about this. There's some posts. There's an area, and I'll show you guys since you brought that up here. You can see all this. I have an area here called audio, and I'm the only one who's posted so far since we're just all joining. But I talk about the different sources I like to go to for audio. Epidemic Sound is my go-to place for sure. For music, Splice is a place I like to go to for sound effects. I don't use them so much anymore because I don't usually do a lot of sound effects. But those are two of my big ones. And then I've got some other sites listed below here, some free sites. I also use Audio Jungle, believe it or not. Audio Jungle, when I want like a very specialized music track for like a demo reel or something I'm trying to put out there to show people, Audio Jungle is awesome for that. And I just checked out audio. It's ArtGrid, but it's the audio version of it. I was looking at it. It looks pretty cool. Visual side, Envato Elements. I use a lot of their graphics. If I need to like pull just little assets for pieces, they've got some good stuff. ArtGrid is for footage. These guys are awesome. Very cinematic footage. Love their stuff. FreePick, again, for just like design assets. I have a subscription here. So I can get the better assets here. And then I've got some places here listed that I get some freebies from as well. So just to show you guys, this is what the community looks like so far. It is expanding, but we've got like a say hello section where you can introduce yourself and go into these. We have conversations. We're actually just talking about getting into titles here for film titles. If you have ask for help, this is where you post. If you're stuck on something, you need some help from the community. Show and tell, you post here to show your work that you're proud of and kind of talk about, why you're proud of it and what you did to create that work. Coaching and replays. This is, for you to check out the live that we're doing, and then audio visual software, inspiration. So lots of good stuff here. We also have direct messaging with our members. You can see over here some of the members. Like I said, I think it says there's 43 so far in here, but I think there's more like 56. I think some people haven't accepted the invite yet. But you can have one-on-one conversations. This is what's cool about this new community. The old communities, we couldn't have direct messaging between members, and you had to do it through email. So this one's a lot more interactive, and we've got some really cool features coming out as well. Let's see here. What else? My question is, how much do freelancers get paid on average? So I answered previously what you can charge when you're starting out. But as a freelancer, you can easily make 6 figures. I mean, when I jumped into freelancing, when I was working for a studio, this is back in 2007, I was making like 80 something grand a year, like 88. And then I jumped into freelancing and immediately hit 6 figures, and I worked less hours doing that. So, you can easily make 200,000 and upwards of that. It depends on what your day rate is. Also, but what I found was when I was getting into the higher range of 6 figures, I was working nonstop to do that. So, because a studio is going to get to a point where they don't want to pay you past a certain day rate. The highest I got was 1,000. I think maybe a couple times I actually got 1,200, maybe 1,500 on one project, which was pretty awesome per day. But yeah, it depends on your level of talent and where you're willing to take that talent. The more work you put in for yourself, the more spec work you create, the better your demo reels are, the better work you're going to get. So I teach that there's that circle, right? That I can't think of the right word. Basically what you do is you create spec work, right? So you create work that you want to make more of, work that you're drawn to. So if you're into titles, right? So you'd create like title sequences or clips from title. So you don't have to create an entire title sequence. You can create like clips of titles, like scenes from title sequences. And you create that, and that goes on your demo reel. And then that demo reel is out there in the world. Someone sees that demo reel, and then they hire you to create that type of work because they're attracted to that type of work, right? So then all of a sudden you're getting paid to create that work. And so now you're making more of that kind of work that you love. So it's this endless cycle. Create the work you want to have and put that out there, and you're going to get it back and get paid for it. Vesta, I have the titles and parallax course, and I plan to go through them, feeling a bit deflated by how you're talking about them now. No, I mean, they're still great courses. So I sold them to another company, right? And that company is still selling them to other people because there's a lot of value in them. I got tired. I should probably rephrase what I said. Like, the content in both of those courses is awesome. I treated it the same way I create any course, very high level. I put put a ton of time into it. And there's just some moments like in main titles, I talk very like, okay, now here we're going to break down this scene. It's like me talking over the whole process, and it drove me crazy. And I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It's not how I teach now. I was still trying to figure out my teaching style on that course, and it kind of drove me crazy. And there's a lot of assets you need for that course. And I'd get asked, it was always in the disclaimer, like, here's what I use, here's the links. But I got tired of people asking me about it. Beyond the parallax effect, there's this one little section that I skip over. It gets cut out. It's literally like a 20-second section. And I got asked over and over and over again about it. And people would send me their projects, and I'm like, I just can't, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm done. So that's why I got rid of them. Dog reveal, no dog reveal. I had to go out there and pop him on the head, though. He's still a puppy, so he's still figuring it all out. Terrell, can't wait to get started. I have a way in to Imaginary Forces as an intern, but lacking cinematic design animation. Well, Terrell, then you need to get in StyleCraft. I think you are in StyleCraft. So Imaginary Forces is an amazing company. Most is about how long are the lessons now? 1 hour? Does it depend? Are they still broken in parts like 1.5, or does it depend on the week? Yeah, I mean, all the lessons, they totally range in length. They could be 20 minutes. They could be an hour. They don't go over an hour, though, per lesson because, we lose attention. So a module could have 3 to 5 lessons typically. Sometimes more, maybe 3 to 6 or 7 lessons. And they can be short, long, short. It just depends. All depends on the week and the module. Can you make a tutorial on YouTube? Yeah, I've got many on YouTube. Motionscience.tv. Okay. As a fresher motion graphics industry, with which kind of studio should I work to enhance my skills? It depends what you want to do. I wanted to work on high-level commercials, cinematic products, titles, things like that. So I chose to work for those studios, and that's the studios I reached out to. There's a lot of studios who do work like that. I respect what they do, but they don't gel with what I like. For example, Buck. I respect what they do, but what they build, doesn't excite me for me. So I would never reach out to a studio like Buck to do freelance work. I love what Imaginary Forces does, or Prologue Films. So I would reach out to them because they create the kind of work that I want to do. So it just depends, and it depends on how high level that studio is, how good your reel is. It all comes down to your reel. If you got a kick-ass reel, a creative director will see that immediately, and they will know, and they will hire you based on that reel. So the reel is everything. Michael says the most underrated element of StyleCraft is realizing you can self-critique yourself. Through seeing the workflow you can design, question to ask yourself after each design you make, is that good enough design? Is the timing correct? Is the color harmony correct? What's the purpose? Could there be less instead of more? What's the intention? Is it too fast, etc.? I learned I learned to make these checklists and study my own work, which really is where the improvements began. That's exactly true. Michael is part of StyleCraft 1. Michael came in with not a whole lot of experience and is making some really great strides. And what he just said is so spot on. It's not about someone else telling you, like me, like your work needs to have this, right? It's helpful for me to tell you, like, hey, pay attention to this or this. But in the end, you have to have that eye. I can't sit there over your shoulder every day and say, like, okay, you got to keep paying attention to this. You have to learn what it takes, what makes good motion design, what doesn't make good motion design. And you will learn that in StyleCraft. And you'll be able to self-critique your own work. I mean, what do you think I do? No one's here looking over my shoulder every day. And as a remote freelancer from 2007 on, a lot of times I was just sitting there in my basement in my office working and saying, like, okay, this is good enough or this is not good enough, right? So that's what it's about. Great point, Michael. Thank you for saying that. No promo codes for the course. It's already too cheap. That's why it's going up next time. Thanks for being here, Mo. Appreciate it. What is your reel from FireClan? So my last reel was from 2015, which is, is dated now. It's 6 years old. You can find it over on Vimeo, vimeo.com/aka Mr. Black. That will show you my reel. Not proud that's 2015, but if you want to see my reel, look at everything that's been created on StyleCraft or through Motion Science, right? Look on YouTube, look on Instagram. All the work, the majority of the work that you see is created by me. There's a few workshops created by a couple other guys outside of myself, but that's a great way to see what my work is. David, out of curiosity, what film credits have you worked on? Oh, I'd have to dig them back up. I mean, it's been a long time. Most of them were never used. I had a feeling someone was going to ask me this, and I can't think of the name of that one big movie. The film credits, whenever I worked on film credits, it was through Prologue Films, which is Kyle Cooper. Kyle Cooper, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like the godfather of modern day motion graphics. He did the title sequence for Seven. And when I saw that movie in the mid 90s, I was like, whoa. Number one, I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. But just seeing that work was like, wow, what is this? And it was a title sequence work. So working for him at Prologue Films, if you're not familiar with Prologue Films, look them up. They do amazing work for title sequences. But I did some work with, like on The Sopranos. That's not a feature film, but it's HBO, Sopranos, and, man, I can't think of that movie. It's a war oil movie. I can't think what it is. Some independent films as well that you guys have probably never heard of, that never made it out. But if you see the title sequences, they're pretty nice. I'm proud of every title sequence I've ever worked on. So I've done some title sequences for games, for Xbox as well. I'd have to build a list. There's been so many over the years. What's your PC configuration? I use an Apple Mac. I'm a Mac guy. iMac 5K. That's all I have. And a MacBook Pro. That's from 2014. Waiting for the new MacBook Pro to come out with the new chip and the new iMac to come out with a new chip. But I'm not a PC fan. Never have been, never will be. And the biggest thing with After Effects is you just have to have a lot of RAM. I've got 64 gigs of RAM on this machine. I would recommend 128 gigs. That's what I'm getting next time. I don't have any fancy graphics cards. I'm still able to run Cinema 4D just fine. I can't render as fast as most people. I've never been able to use Octane, which has been kind of a blessing because it hasn't taken up my time. It's a third-party renderer for Cinema 4D, for those of you who don't know. but I will be getting into it this year. I'm going to teach myself because now they do run on the Mac. So catch up. Yeah. Thanks so much for the Q&A. Of course. Appreciate it. I'm going to wrap this one up. Any last minute questions really quick before I wrap it up? I did want to show you really quickly, guys, before I jump off here too. I want to show you what inside of StyleCraft looks like. And I don't know there. I think we can see it all now. Inside of StyleCraft, this is what happens when you get into the course. It talks about how the course can begin April 19th. You're going to learn cinematic motion design, what to expect, how to watch the lessons. You get an email about them, blah, 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 blah. If you want to go to the community, there's a button right here. The community is hosted on another platform, but it's really awesome. So you just you click this button, it jumps you to the other platform, you log in, and you're good to go. So here we have like all the lessons. They're laid out left to right, top to bottom. So this is the order that you move in, right? And then you see like these bonuses. So like here's your first bonus from Action VFX. These are my buddies, and we get one of the bonuses is you get some Action VFX footage to work with that you see me working with in the project. So like smoke plumes and things like that. AE Scripts is one of your bonuses. You get educational licenses to some of their products. AE Juice, my buddy Jacob, he hooks you up with a big discount on their products. Boris Effects, you get 50% off the retail version. Animation Composer, 35% off their preset packs. Euchre Media, my boys are at Euchre Media. I can't remember the discount, but I think it's 50% off their stuff. Effects Factory, I talked about more bonus effects or footage from Action VFX. What else? And then the actual lessons, right? So we have like, when you start, you have a whole onboarding process. Once you jump in, like I talked about, like here's Angel, right? I kind of revamped this one, but you can see, you click in and you can see the lessons left to right. There's always an action step at the end right here. So we study color. I do 2 different lessons on it, and then we do an action step. Let's see here. What's a good one? Movement and direction. Great example here. Study movement and direction. We work on HBO, which is from the original StyleCraft. We built out this big piece here called Hex, which is really fun. Depth is a bigger one. We study depth, and then we do some simple examples here, and then we do like a bigger example here. So, and I guarantee you these examples will push you. So those are some of the examples of the material in the course. You can also like go through the material here, and you can click and drop down, and the layout should keep track of where you're at. So if you leave off like on this lesson here, it'll tell you like, okay, come back in, and this is where you're going to start up is on HBO. So that is just a very simple breakdown of what's inside the course. Back to the comments here. Ashthorpe, Danny Yon also worked there with Kyle. Yeah, I've done a lot of work with Danny Yon. He's an amazing designer. I highly respect him. He's one of my favorite motion designers. Ashthorpe's very, I've never worked with that guy. I don't know him, but he does amazing work. The 2 frames preview error, do we have to live with it, or is there a workaround? I mean, you need more than 2 frames. If you're only doing 2 frames of animation, that's pretty short. I get that error sometimes when I just hit preview and then I hit it too quick again, and it's only previewed 1 or 2 frames. I feel like my brain goes blank when concepting for a new project, specifically now with COVID brains. Feel so overwhelmed. How can your course help me? So I teach you how to think creatively. You see my workflows over and over and over again, and you learn how I think creatively. Okay. When you get into the course, after you've gone through a whole lot of material here, we get to a part towards the end of the course, and it's called idea to execution. And in idea to execution, this is where I break down how to get from creative, what's inside your head, onto the screen, and then you bring it all together and you design, you do a mood board, you design a style frames, you animate, you finish it, and you have a finished piece. So, I mean, that's what I teach in StyleCraft. How do you get what's in your head on the screen, right? How do you get that creative out there? So it's a huge, huge part of what I teach. Is the other platform Facebook? No, it is not. The other platform is a platform specifically for communities that I pay a monthly fee to have our platform hosted there. So I have it. It's our own. It's hard to explain it. It's a platform made for creators. So I pay a monthly fee to have my own personal space that I create my own community within. What I want to do with that community is completely up to me. But this platform just launched. Oh, it's only been just over a year, and I've been with them since the beta, and it's amazing. And the features that are coming to it, I'm really excited about. They're doing like some live video implementation and some other really cool features. So, no, it is not Facebook. It is another private platform that I pay for us to be part of in our own community. It's a hosting platform. The symmetry lessons look dope. Yes, I would say every lesson in here is dope. I love the word dope, and that's what I try to aim for on every lesson I create. Is there new courses for the future? Yeah, there's some stuff coming out in the future. Right now, like I said, I'm focused on StyleCraft. Still actually creating the very end of it, right? The bringing it all together project is a huge project. Still working on finishing that piece out. And it'll be ready before you guys get to that point in StyleCraft, of course. But there's a course on Cinema 4D coming out. It's called Cinema 4D Quick Start to teach you how to jump into Cinema 4D if you've never touched it before, and how to get, understand the program and get going. And there's also AE Academy Volume 3 is going to be coming out this summer. Really excited about that one. And I think we're going to have a title sequence course coming out later on. We'll see. But StyleCraft is where it's at. So I hope to see many of you guys here in StyleCraft. Registration closes on Sunday. So you've got a couple days left to get in. I do have those bonuses I talked about for you when you join. The pricing is introductory pricing now. It will go up in the future on the next release. So if you're looking to get a deal, this is where it's at. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, Cameron@motionscience.tv, Cameron@motionscience.tv. And until next time, thanks for being here. My name's Cameron, and this is Motion Science. Have a great one.